What's going on, everybody? It's PapaStones coming back with another video. Looks like we're already in that time of year. I know I'm a little late to the party, but we're going to talk about the spoilers coming for set 4, Jump to Lightspeed. Yeah, if you've already seen these, then I'll just give you my opinions on them, and you can feel free to hang out. But it's just the original stuff, so we're going to jump right into it, though. We've got a Saj Ventress leader here. Leader side, it's action, deal 1 damage to a friendly unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. Flips on 6, and you can either deploy it or you can turn it into a pilot, which is basically where you turn it into an upgrade, right? So you can either deploy it as a 4/6 with grit, or you can equip it to a vehicle as a 3/4 upgrade. And the attached unit's leader, they all have that, the pilot leaders. It gains grit, and on attack, you may deal 1 damage to a friendly unit. If you do, deal 1 damage to an enemy unit in the same arena. It seems okay. Maybe there will be an actual grit aggro strategy in blue, because that would be kind of okay there, right? But like, other than that, it's kind of meh, if you ask me. Moving on, though, we're gonna go to Boba Fett again, his 3rd leader. They love their Boba Fett, I'll give them that. It is red-black, and it says when you deal non-combat damage, you may exhaust this leader, and if you do, deal 1 indirect damage to a player. And that is also another new thing. It's basically and it says there, that player assigns 1 unpreventable damage among their base and units. It flips on 6. It's also a pilot, same thing. If you make it a leader, it's just a 4/7, and if you upgrade it to something, it's a leader, and when deployed as an upgrade, deal up to 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of units. The problem I have with these pilot leaders is, like, if they become actually meta relevant, people will just kind of main deck upgrade removal, or at least side deck upgrade removal, and then you don't have a leader. And sure, you could flip it as a 4/7, but a 6 cost leader that's just a 4/7 that does nothing isn't all that terrifying. I mean, look at OG Boba, right? I mean, he's banned obviously, but it was a 5 cost 4/7 that got you an extra 2 resources when it attacked. Or like Han, which is a 6 cost 4/6 that cheats you out of resource. Like, being a 4/7 doing nothing is kind of crazy. It sounds bad. Maybe there'll be a way to build around it, but I'm not too high on the indirect damage, just because making your opponent assign the damage, they're always going to pick the worst option for you, right? So say they have 1 unit and they need that unit to stick, they'll just put the damage on their base. Or say they have a bunch of units and you really need base damage, or you want to damage a specific unit, like, they'll just pick you the worst option and deal with it. So, like, you would have to make it worth it in a sense. Like, your whole deck would have to be, like, just being annoying and you're okay with the options, right? But I don't know, maybe they'll print enough stuff to make it okay, but like, first glance, right, it doesn't seem that good. Did I not? I didn't open the other guy. Hold on. We got to talk about this guy. I can't forget about him. We got Han Solo. Never tell me the odds. Another Han leader. It is a yellow-white. Action, reveal the top card of your deck, then attack with the unit. If the revealed card and that unit have different odd costs, that unit gets +1/+0 for the attack. It deploys on 5. It is a vanilla 3/7, or when deployed as a pilot, each friendly unit or upgrade that has an odd cost ready a resource. So I'm going to be honest, I know a lot of people seem taken aback by this from the stuff I've seen, because they're like just assuming either you're maybe throwing in a handful of odd costs or just enough to make it worth it. But I am a former Hearthstone player, and if you know anything about Hearthstone history, they made odd, like, it was basically a card one for odd and one for even. Basically, if your whole deck was all odd or all even, you got a benefit. And those decks wreaked havoc for the longest time when they were in standard rotation. So, realistically, this kind of terrifies me because I think if that is the route they go, because generally what'll happen, right, since you have to like be restrictive on your deck in those senses, the cards that will say like if your deck has all odds or if you show all odds kind of thing, they'll be overstated because it'll limit your deck building restrictions. But if you start thinking about it, like in Han specifically, there's so many good cards at these odd costs. Like you have, say you're playing it in green, right? Which you probably will with the new Chewbacca that we'll go over. You'd have Chewbacca, you got U-Wing, you got Han, you got Falcon at 3, you got, like, there's so many good odd cost cards. And then you can, if you need to alleviate the curve, you could play like smuggle cards, right? Like imagine you're playing Tech, right? So Tech is an odd cost card, but if you put Tech in your row, you can smuggle them out for 4, right? So you could fill your curve there. Or you could go like a 3 and a 1 on turn 4, or like things like that. Like, I feel like this card excites me a lot. If they print stuff that makes this even better, I'll be a little terrified. And then on the flip, if you're already, I mean, if you're ahead, it's obviously better, right? But say you're not, like if you just have like a very minimum board, it's a 5 cost flip and upgrade onto something to get you back at minimum 2 resources. But if they're not clearing your stuff or you're clearing their stuff, like you could have 2 1-drops, a 3-drop, maybe another 1-3, maybe another 3 like the Tech that you smuggle, 5-drop that you'll play on turn 5 before you flip. Like you could realistically get all of your resources back in a sense. I think this card's super cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they add to it. But at the same time, I'm slightly terrified just because of my Hearthstone past. But we're going to move on because I could probably talk about this guy specifically for a long time. Moving on, though, the other really good card. I think this card is insane. It is Chewbacca. It's a 5-cost green-white. It can't be defeated or returned to hand by enemy card abilities. It's a 5/6. And you can pilot it as a 3-cost and basically just play it as an upgrade on a vehicle. And then attached unit gains. This unit can't be defeated or returned to hand by enemy card abilities. So imagine in not that specific Han deck, right? But like imagine in a deck where your first play, say you're playing like red and green, right? Your first play, you play what's it's called? An A-Wing. And then next turn you give it a Chewbacca. So your card can't be dark side, can't be waylaid. You have a 4/6 that's a 6/6 while attacking on turn 2. This card's really good. They better have upgrade removal or a decent enough amount of spaceships to beat it down because this card's crazy. Like I said, I'm thinking about that Han list. It probably wouldn't be on your initial turn, right? Because you'd be playing odd ships. So you'd play like a couple 1-drops or a 1-drop or whatever, and then on turn 3 you could play a Falcon of some variety, and then turn 4 you could play this in like another 1-drop. Like there's that also. Or on turn 5 you could just outright play it. It's still a 5/6 that nullifies dark side and waylays and stuff like that. So I don't know, this card's crazy. It's also a rebel if that matters. So yeah. Moving on though, we got Tandem Assault. It's a 1-cost green, attack with a space unit. If you do attack with a ground unit, and that ground unit gets +2/+0. I think this card's kind of bad. It's kind of just like worse Rebel Assault, right? Rebel Assault just has to have rebels. It doesn't have to be any specific arena. I mean, granted, that is green-white, but I don't know. I just don't think this is very good. Kind of meh. Moving on, though. Into red-black, we have no disintegrations. It says, deal damage to a non-leader unit equal to 1 less than its remaining HP. At first, I didn't think this card would be worth any slots, right? But there are certain decks that I think will take good advantage of this, particularly ones that do ping damage, like, say, Darth Vader or Bosk or things like that. You can walk down anything you want for 4 resources, in a sense, or in Boss case, you just have to have a bounty on it. But the only downside would be if they healed that specific unit after you use no disintegrations, but Obi-Wan is not very popular as the heal leader, and most decks don't do unit healing in general, unless it's like, say, a redemption late that they need to stick a unit or whatever. So I honestly think this card might see some play as like a not early removal, but like a later game style removal, just because it can clear anything. It has to be non-leader, which is kind of sucky, I guess, but if it was leader, it'd be real good. Still, I think it's definitely got some... It'll have a home for sure. Who knows where, but I think it'll have a home. Moving on, though, we got the Hunting Aggressor. 4-cost red ship, 3/6. It just says indirect damage you deal to your opponent is increased by 1. So your Boba Leader ability could deal an extra damage when you use it. Like I said, I think at first glance it doesn't seem too good, right? Indirect damage, but I think the Hunting Aggressor, if you could stick these, it would make it more threatening. Because, I mean, realistically, say on turn 4 you drop this, and then when you're using Boba's ability you're doing 2, that's alright. Say it's not unique either, so say you could drop multiple. You could, in theory, be making your indirect damage 4 every time you use it. And then if you're assigning 4 randomly, like it's probably taking out any unit, maybe not any, taking out a lot of units or weakening them a bit, or 4 damage to base is nothing to scoff about. I mean, we've seen plenty of games 1 off of 4 causes 4 damage, so yeah, I think this card will be played in the Boba list, but will it be that good? I can't guarantee you that. Moving on, though, we have Zergian Starhopper, Zygarian Starhopper, 2-cost, yellow, black, 2/3, spaceship. When defeated, deal 2 indirect damage to a player. Honestly, I like this card just because it's a decent stat line for a 2-cost ship, right? Like, people play A-Wings for, like, the Rebel traits, and it's a spaceship, and, like, Cartel Spacer, because it's a 2/3 in Django. That's a spaceship also, and it technically has a benefit. But, I don't know, another 2/3 spaceship that deals damage when defeated, sure, they get to pick it, but it's still 2 damage. So, yeah, I actually kind of like this card. Moving on, though, we've got Bosk Unit Pilot, whatever. It is a 4-cost yellow black 4/4, and on attack, exhaust the defender and deal 1 damage to it if it's a unit. And you can pilot it for 2, and it gains +2/+2 and the same effect. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's not the worst card I've ever seen. 4-cost 4/4. It's okay. I mean, it's kind of like Forlom, but Forlom has ambush, so Forlom's definitely better. The piloting effect, don't know if you care a lot about 2/2, and if you do, are you really exhausting units with it? Maybe this is like a counter to like the Chewbacca style stuff. I don't know, but I think it's average, I guess. Then we got Never Tell Me the Odds. This is a yellow-white discard. It costs 3 costs also. Discard 3 cards from your opponent's deck and 3 cards from your deck. Deal damage to a unit equal to the number of cards with an odd cost discarded this way. So I was talking about odd cost cards being pretty powerful if they print for it. This one seems kind of average, to be honest. If you were to line the whole deck up as odd costs, you're guaranteeing 3. You'll probably hit 1 from your opponent, so it's realistically kind of just like an open fire for yellow-white. But at the same time, they don't have an open fire, so maybe it sees play there. At the same time, maybe I'm considering they'll have some kind of like, what is it, discard pile, graveyard, I don't know what you call it, I forget. Death. The death pile. Maybe they'll have something to be able to get stuff out of it to make this better. But just like on standalone value, I think it's kind of average. I think if it turns into an odd control deck, I mean, it is a control tool for you, I guess. But it's not fantastic. Moving on, though, we got Death Space Skirmisher. It is a 3-cost yellow spaceship 3/3. When played, if you control another space unit, you may exhaust a unit. Stats are kind of bad for a 3/3 or for a 3-cost, right? They have 3-cost 3/4 spaceships. Being able to exhaust might make it okay. As I don't know. I just don't think the stats are good enough. Maybe it'll be annoying enough that you'll be playing space cards and you'll want to keep stuff exhausted. But the stats are just a little too underwhelming, I think, for me personally. Moving on, though, we've got Fett's Fire Spray again. This is a 4-cost black 4/4. When played and on attack, deal 1 indirect damage to a player. If you control Boba Fett as a unit upgrade or leader, deal 2 indirect instead. So, back to the Boba leader. It'll definitely see play in there. If that Boba leader sees yellow, you'll get to play 6 Fire Spray. However, I don't know. 4/4 spaceship is okay, I think. Stats aren't fantastic, I guess. But at least it does something viable on attack also, so it like has to be dealt with, I guess. Because when you play it and get to deal 2 damage, sure, that'd be okay, I guess, right? But then if it sticks around, you can just constantly deal 2 damage. I don't hate it. I also don't love it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just biased because I don't think indirect damage is that good. But if they print something that makes it viable, then this card's probably definitely in it, right? We'll see, though. And then, last but certainly not least, we got another Millennium Falcon. 3rd one so far. Get out and push. This is also a Rebel. It's a 3-cost 3/4 spaceship. So, like I said, the 3-cost 3/3 stats, this would run it over and survive. So, that's why we're more concerned about the 3/4, right? But, besides that, you may deploy 1 additional pilot on this unit, and this unit gets +1/+0 for each pilot on it. I know these are all the cards we've seen so far, but everybody's already speculating, imagining you play this on the 3rd resource, the next turn you slap out a Chewbacca on it, and you turn it into it gets +3/+3, and then the +1/+0. So if you do that, you end up with a 7/7 spaceship on that turn, right? So it'd probably be turn 4, unless you could cheat it out. Like if you were playing Old Han, say you're playing Old Han, like Han 1, and you turn 1 you set a resource down, play a Falcon. Turn 2 you don't have to set a resource down, you just give it a Chewbacca. So in theory, on turn 2, you could have a 7/7 spaceship that can't be destroyed or bounced back to your hand by card effects. But then you take it a step further. If you're playing New Han, you could also flip that out, get 3 resources back just based on that, and then have it'd be a +4/+4 buff. So it would be an 11/11 at that point. That's a leader now, so it couldn't be vanquished, or well, it couldn't already because of Chewbacca. But that could also be a pipe dream. But realistically, this is just a 3/4 spaceship in heroism. It's not color specific. I guarantee you this card sees play in decks that aren't even Han. probably just good spaceship, like in general. The stat line's good. If you're playing pilots, it gets even better. I think this is also really good. It's weird to me to think we haven't seen much of the whole set yet, obviously, but it's weird to me that heroism is getting the better cards. It seems like every set so far it has been all about villainy. Every set, it's like the better of the cards always comes out to the villainy side. I'm not saying I'm holding my breath for that, but maybe this is the first set where heroism finally takes the cake because these cards look good. But yeah, that's it for me this time. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're looking forward to the next set. I mean, it's obviously pretty early. We still got like 3 or 4 months, it feels like, I think. So I don't know when more spoilers will come, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm always looking into new stuff. It's my favorite thing about the game is building and testing stuff out. So I'm really interested in doing some stuff with this Odd Han. We'll see if I get to experience those joys, that's for sure. But let me know what you're looking forward to. If you think it's, it's going to be Han, Asajj, maybe, Boba, whatever. Feel free to reach out, but drop a like on the video for me if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel if you're new or if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.